Think about it. Every hiring decision is a choice that can make or break a team, a culture, and even an entire company. So how do we make the right choice? Hi, I'm Dr. Mickey, and welcome to Inside the Mind of Hiring. Here we'll uncover the psychology and strategy behind effective hiring. Because the right fit isn't just about skill or experience. It's about understanding people, their motivations, their strengths, and the shadows of their shortcomings. Together, we'll tackle the tough questions. How do we look beyond bias? How do we find the qualities that make people not just qualified hires, but the right hires? This is about identifying leaders who drive success, lift morale, and actualize a company's vision. Inside the Mind of Hiring starts now. Well, good afternoon, everybody.
Yeah.
This is Dr. Mickey Fineberg, and I'm here with my wonderful partner, host today, Dr. Pat. And we have
I'm excited.
We have a very kind of cool and interesting episode for you today. Last episode, we're in the midst, of hiring a great candidate as the VP Operations and AI for a manufacturing company. And the last episode, we identified the hiring team that was selected by the VPHR, and we described who they are and why they were selected. And we can also say today that the manufacturing company that we're talking about, very interesting company, designs, fabricates, and installs glass facades for commercial office buildings. Pretty cool company. And they do it throughout the United States. And if some of you tuned in last time, and for those of you who didn't, the hiring team's kind of interesting. They consist of why am I blanking on this?
Well, let's talk about it.
They consist of Dick Cheney. I never remember Dick Cheney's name. And Dick Cheney is the CFO. And we had Nancy Pelosi, the VP, General Counsel, the lawyer, the big lawyer of the company. Then we had Martha Stewart, the VP Marketing, Snoop Dogg, the VP Sales, Bill Clinton, the CEO, and Ann Richards, the plant manager. So they did their due diligence. They have identified the specs for this job very carefully and thoroughly as a guide for themselves as a hiring team. For a guy like me, who the business psychologist who would do the executive assessment of this candidate, and of course for the executive search firm who needs to source a great candidate for this company. And it just so happens that the search consultant, sourced a really nice candidate for this VP Operations and AI position. And her role is going to be played by Dr. Pat, and her role, and she will be playing the role of Viola Davis for this position. And I'm going to be playing the role of Snoop Dogg as a sample interview of this candidate. You see, the team decided that they wanted to interview the candidates separately. They thought that would have the best effect, since candidates often function differently with different people. So they wanted to everyone get their individual perspectives on this candidate and present them that way and collaborate. And that's the way they thought they would make the best decision, even though it would take more time for each candidate. So I'm going to play the role of Snoop Dogg. And I just want to say, it's so nice to meet you, Viola.
Yeah, I am so excited to be here. This reminds me, once upon a time, recently I played and starred in the fabulous Woman King role. And now this is the top of the food chain for me to be able to sit in this position, and become the Woman King of AI.
Well, I hope you do. And I wish you the best in this journey. But I want to welcome you to Window Glass Inc. And Viola, I could see your credentials are pretty cool for this
Oh,
job. But but our interview today is going to help me and my colleagues determine if you're really the best fit for this role and if you can really contribute successfully to our organization. So I'm going to ask you several questions about
bring
your
it on.
of course, about your background, how you think, how you go about your job, and of course, who you are. So please fasten your seatbelt, relax, and enjoy this ride with me.
Let's go.
Okay. So first, let me ask you, what about your background do you feel best qualifies you for this VP Operations AI role?
Yeah, more so than anybody you can even imagine. You know, you could, of course, be interviewing people that are billionaires that own their own company, but you know what you're going to get, Dr. Mickey? What you're going to get is you're going to get a whole lot of wishy-washy, but in the end, those people want this position so they can benefit from it personally. Yeah, I guess $1 billion is just not enough. But let me tell you why. My industry, or the industry that I have so much experience in, is probably going to get hit very, very hard with AI and AI replacing. Now, why do I say that? Well, I guess in our last union contract, maybe we should have talked about this more when the actors agreement came up, because you can literally now generate AI figures of actors and they will look very close. What you can't do is you can't take AI and give it the personality that your audience would love. And so for me, I've had to prepare myself in an industry that would just as soon not pay anybody and have AI, robotics, or otherwise sit in and try to replace me. Now, we both know that's impossible. I mean, just look at my credentials. But when you think about that, you have to have a bigger picture. You know, understanding technology of AI, you can hire people for that. But what are you seeing in the future? Are you willing to take a chance on innovation that may be a year or two out, but that would enormously benefit this company?
Wow. So you're coming from your background and you're going to transfer your skills, your AI skills, to this manufacturing organization.
Yes, because we know the pain. So
okay.
I mean, think about it. When you say AI, yeah, we could be sitting here on our Eiffel Tower or wherever we are. I don't know. We're in the Blue Ridge Mountains or someplace, but we could be sitting up here and we just look at this thing as executives. But you have to be in the shoes of people that are wondering, how is this going to affect me? Because it isn't just about technology. It's about
I'm thinking about me too.
You too,
I'm
right?
thinking about me too,
Yeah, next
Viola.
time we talk, you're probably going to be some dummy image that I'm talking to. No reflection on this interview, by the way. But you understand what I'm saying, is this
Yeah, I
isn't
get
just
it.
about technology.
I kind of get it. Well, that's interesting perspective. Tell me how your philosophy of HI, how do you think about AI?
For those of us that have seen AI coming and have prepared for it, we don't think about AI. We have to do with AI. If you're still thinking about AI, you lost the Kentucky Derby and you don't even know that there is a Kentucky Derby to lose.
So you're not even in the race.
You're not in the race. So those of us that have had the experience of this, and we look forward, and especially for this company, you have to plan this in transitional manner, but you cannot take forever. You have to have the ability to convince your boss that this is the direction we go, even if it's going to cost you $1 million. But you
Oh,
have to put the hat on that says, if we do this, this is exactly what we'll get. Now, why do I say that? So think about it. Should actors ask for more money, or should we be asking for less? What's going to impact us if we want to gain the attention? And you know what the answer is, Dr. Mickey? None of
hey,
the above.
I'm in character. You got to call me Snoop Dogg, please.
Listen, Snoop, you know this better than anybody. Let's just be very clear about this. How many times have you reinvented yourself?
Well, I know I did it once.
No. How did you even get to be the MC at the Olympics? No, you see what I'm saying here is you looked ahead. You looked at
Sure.
yourself. You looked at your future. And by the way, how
Yeah,
did you become besties
where were the strangest place I could be at that time?
and besties with Martha Stewart? So
Ah,
let's
my
talk
girl.
about what is involved. You have to know how to build collaborations. You have to, must know how to be speaking the language that everybody can understand. Not from a technical point of view. You can have your tech person right there. But what's
Right.
the humanity part of AI, Snoop?
Ah, I see. Uh, how it's going to impact people you're talking about.
That's right. Not just
Oh.
people in the company,
But
but your end users.
let me ask you, knowing who we are, what's your vision of what we could look like or can be with the power of AI?
Exactly. So here's the short answer. And I'm sure you may want to take more time, but here's the short answer. When you think about AI and you think you're planning for a year, you're wrong. The pace by which AI and the multifunctional nature of it, even for that camera person that's sitting behind the camera and trying to get the best of me. And you know what this is about, Snoop. Look at you in the Olympics. I mean, come on now. Look at how well you showed up. Can you imagine if they replaced you with an AI, Snoop? But the point isn't that. The point is
Well,
that,
I had to be me for the Olympics for sure.
yeah, but I guarantee somewhere out there's an AI version of you. But here's the answer to your question. If you're thinking a year out with AI, you're absolutely, I'm not kidding. If you think a year out and plan for a year out, you are already 3 years behind the curve. You
Right.
can't think of AI in years. You must think about it in days and months.
Wow. Things move pretty fast with that, don't they?
Uh, Faster than me in my new role playing the president.
Well, tell me, how do you
Did you
think
like my
about
moves in that role? Did you like
uh,
that? Look,
absolutely, but
imagine if you're me and you're giving all the different roles I was given. I mean, if you go back in my career, you saw me on stage with Meryl Streep. I had 10 minutes in a play, and those 10 minutes had to be so impactful that here I was. And you know what? I've been known to say that I learned, there's a quote from me that somebody printed somewhere. And I think the quote is a little bit mistaken, but it's poignant. It is, I had to learn how to be more white. Now, why do I
really,
say that? Oh, yeah. They quoted me on that thing. Yeah,
well,
that
Viola,
is
let me
something.
give you a message here. You can't be white, honey.
No, no, no. I'm talking about acting. I'm
Right.
talking about acting. I had to learn, and I can't remember when that quote was, but it certainly kind of hit me. Yes, I said it, and there I was. But think about the role I was playing. So let's talk about AI. Now, I want to
Right.
ask you a question.
You want to ask me a question?
Yeah, would you have picked me to play a role in a Shakespeare play?
Oh,
Oh, yep, don't
certainly.
answer. Don't answer. We don't want to be taking you to court right now. But one of the things I'm trying to say is those of us in this profession, you as well, we have learned how to stay ahead of the curve. We have trained ourselves, we have educated ourselves, and we're planning for AI in film.
Wow. So that's still a big transfer to a manufacturing company like ours.
Really? How is it?
But well,
I mean, look
ma-
at my industry.
yeah,
Look at how many billions of dollars my industry is worth.
yeah, it's big, that's for sure, and there's a lot of money going on. But
That's right.
right, well, tell me a little. This is you're a leader in this company. You will be a leader in this company. How do you go? What are your thoughts about leadership, and what do you feel you need to emphasize or de-emphasize in a leadership role here?
Well, the first thing is make sure you take your team out once a month minimally, even if you go bowling. You
Sounds
see, wait,
good.
here's what happened. We
You say
lost.
AI happens pretty quickly, but you can't go bowling too much if
Oh, yeah,
AI
you
has to.
can. I mean, come on now. You can bowl right from your office. I mean, that's how I got my golf swing. But that's not the point. The point is this. You're going to be asking a lot, Snoop. You ask a
Sure,
lot of your people. I am sure you asked a lot of Martha. I don't know. Maybe you
absolutely.
helped her with her new chef show. But somehow
Well,
Martha came up with $250,000 to get people that have behavioral issues to play in a
well,
hit chef show.
well. She's the marketing genius for this company, and
Exactly.
uh,
Exactly.
she cooks some pretty good stuff up for us.
Yeah. And by the way, Martha probably could step in and do a great job here based on her experience. But that's not the
Hmm.
point.
Well,
You
we're
see, you,
looking for somebody outside like you.
that's exactly right. You are, and you've come to the right place. Now, let's just stay in line with this. Acting is one of the most underrated talents and gifts. See, here's what you don't know. If you move a half an inch to one way or the other, that entire scene is off. The technical nature of acting. Now, let me just give you a little hint. Unless you forgot, AI played an incredible role in turning upside down the graphic nature. I mean, look at Avatar. Look at what James Cameron came out and did with Avatar. I mean,
Oh,
think about that.
unbelievable, unbelievable.
So, this industry, by the way, has been a decade ahead of what you're talking to me about.
Wow. So you are advanced. So you can take the techniques that are of AI that are applied in your industry and transfer them in a jiffy to what we're trying to do here.
I got more for you. Not only, but do you know how many people I know in my industry that have been working? Can you imagine connecting with the top people in the world that have had to really adapt and adjust and fight off box office tickets to create something
Mm,
that is going to help people? It's not just about my knowledge, but think about my network, Dr. Snoop Dogg.
Dr. Snoop.
Think about my network.
Oh, it sounds
Now,
great.
look,
You know a
we
lot of
can compare
people.
networks, Snoop, and I bet,
Yeah.
yeah, you've got a pretty good network, but you're not even going to touch my network of
So
people
you
that I
can
can
you
bring
can
in.
call upon a lot of resources.
There's no question about that.
Wow. Well, I'm impressed, but I'm impressed by all. I mean, I'm really impressed. Well, let me ask you something. You come from an industry where there's a lot of innovation, a lot of change. How do you feel is the best way to get people on board with major change? Because AI is major change and it's fast change.
You can't fake this. In my industry, my latest, you know how hard it is to get a role in my industry? Do you know that if you're going to go for a role that requires or is going to have an AI interface, do you think you're going to show up for that role and not know some parts of that? You see, you have to know it. Otherwise, why? You show up scared. You flunk on the interview. Wow, hey, how's AI? Then you go to your agent and say, oh my gosh, put that AI clause in my. No, you have to be on top of the world and where it's going. And therefore, you have to stay ahead of the curve. You're in an industry that you're already behind the curve. This is a job should have been filled 6 months ago. And Snoop, you know it. I know you went busy. I know you've got a busy life, but I'm just saying it is now time for this company to catch up. And
Well,
I can accelerate that.
well, that's why we're trying to find somebody so bad for this
Stop
job.
looking. It's right here.
Well, I get the sense that you like to move fast, Viola.
It's not me. I see the potential in your company. I see the potential in what you're doing. I see how you could literally monopolize an industry with your advancements. I see how you can take a 5-year plan. And by the way, any AI company that has a 5-year plan, you're gone in 5 years. You need to have a 5-day plan, a 5-month plan.
Wow, that is advanced, I must tell you. Because in corporate America today, they talk about 5 years. They talk about 5 days being yesterday. So I don't know, it's a change in paradigm for me, the way I think about stuff. We always talk about what are you going to be in 5 years as a company? But I guess with this AI stuff, we got to be thinking about 5 days.
Well, you have to think about where you are. And, let me ask you a question. Where do you think you are right now? Do you think you're ahead of the curve? Do you think that this is something you can catch up with? And by the way, how much money are you willing to spend?
Well, well, we know this is going to be a major capital investment, and you're going to sell us on that. You're going to your job, but we know we're doing well, and we want to capitalize on this to accelerate what we're doing well at. I'm the vice president of sales, and I see a lot of opportunity in terms of accelerating our customer and profitable sales growth. So I'm really geared up for that. I really like the idea of that. And we made enough money that we can put some money into this because we're really bullish on being the best we can be. And I'm really excited about it myself.
Look at my credentials, but I want you to go back and look at my history. If you know anything about me, you know how I grew up. I think I've been describing my upbringing as living in a rat-infested place, but I'm also a graduate of Juilliard. And, this year in 2025, during an interview, that's when I talked about and said my education at Juilliard helped me become a better white actress, but not necessarily a better actor. And so what does that mean? See, you have to understand that is an exquisite mastery of adaptability, but not a diminishment of self-empowerment.
Well, I can see you're kind of loose and flexible, and I've known you for many years.
Oh yeah, but I like to win here, Snoop. Come on, look at my awards. I like to win. You can't forget that. You can't be a CEO or CPO or any kind of any industry if you don't really see winning as part of the game plan.
Well, I hope you're definitely a winner. No question about that. And I hope it really, you really sound like you think it can transfer very, very rapidly to this job that we're talking about here. And I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued to hear that. Well, so, what do you want to be best known for? What do you want to be best known for? What would you like to be highlighted in your eulogy, Viola?
Honoring the dignity of the human spirit. Whether I'm on stage in 1992 in a Shakespeare, come on, Shakespeare, right? Whether it's me doing that in 1992 or fast forward to where we are now and playing the president of the United States with some very, very good martial arts skills. All of this, all of who I am and what I've learned about life and humanity is you really have to honor the dignity of the human spirit in all, Snoop.
Well, you certainly do. And I'm getting more impressed by the minute. I'm seeing like this phenomenal person with her craft. And I'm seeing some major prospects for transfer into this situation that we have here as this manufacturing company.
Yeah.
So so you did tell me about your weaknesses.
Look,
Tell me about your weaknesses.
I know we only have a couple of minutes left, but I've already mentioned several of them throughout this interview.
You have.
But what you really need to hear is what I did about them.
Yes.
I knew that I had to change my game as an actor in order to, one, feel fulfilled about the roles I was playing, but even more importantly, you know what? If you ever play a role like I did and How to Get Away with Murder, phenomenal team, very up and coming in the content and where we were and how we do it. You know, if that show were redone with a version of AI would come in and be able to segment frames and past looks and reviews. And by the way, Snoop, you know this, almost everything you watch now. I mean, I was watching a show the other day, some lawyer show, and I'm like, I got confused. Well, we in 2010 or where are we? What year are we in? Because the flashbacks could have been done better with a little bit of AI.
Oh, I'm sure. But you mentioned trying to be successful in a white type of environment.
No. Let me just be clear about that quote, because that quote, I'm telling you, that thing gets missed. What I said is the role that I played and going to Juilliard helped me become a better white actress, but not a better actor. And what's the point of that statement? You see, we live in a world where we are so diverse. And if you're not adaptable to the world we're in, then you understand that there's a niche you're going to be in and never change. But my vision was big for my life. I saw and passionate about what I wanted to do.
Well, I kind of get what you're saying. Juilliard could give you the right discipline, but you should still maintain your character as an actress.
That's right.
I'm really impressed. I got me really excited about this, about your prospects for helping us with this AI stuff. I'm going to think about everything you said.
Well, let me leave you with this. If you ever want to think about a movie and AI, don't forget my role in Suicide Squad.
Oh my goodness.
Come on now, because what are we seeing in that? Look at that imagery, look at that message. And people love that. I mean, who doesn't like those characters? But you see almost everything in the world now is touched by AI. And if it isn't, it soon will be.
Well, that's how you got to think. Well, I enjoyed this interview very much today.
I did too. What's next?
Well, I'm going to get together with my colleagues after they finish with you, because you got to talk to each one of them. And if you can excite them the way you excited me about this, about your background and how you might be able to transfer this phenomenal knowledge and your attitude into what we're trying to do here, I'm pretty impressed.
Well, let's go.
Let's go.
Thank you for your time.
Oh, you got it. And thank you for yours.
And I want to thank all of you out there for tuning us in and turning us on. Today was a demonstration, albeit we use characters today. But I will tell you, from where I sat playing the role, I can never be Viola Davis. She is just too beautiful. But I will tell you, even in this role play, getting asked those questions, this is a skill that everybody needs to learn. Whether you're going for a job at a company warehouse down the street from me, or you're going for that executive interview, you have to know yourself well enough. Dr. Mickey, thank you so much for the role.
And thank you.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning us in. We'll see you next time.
See you next time. You have been listening to Inside the Mind of Hiring with me, Dr. Mickey Fineberg. Tune in the first and third Tuesday at 11 on Transformation Talk Radio to discover the psychology of making successful hiring decisions. In each episode, hiring managers and HR pros will learn how to leverage assessments and other key screening sources and avoid common pitfalls. Job seekers will gain insight into successfully presenting themselves. For more information on assessing people for mission-critical jobs and on career assessment and coaching, visit deltaconsultants.com and my LinkedIn profile. If you'd like to write me personally, it's Mickey, Mickey, @deltaconsultants.com.